Yeah, the teams then enter the arena here at the recreation ground. Whitehaven in their traditional white strip and Leigh playing in the darker blue away to our left. And Dave Woods, the Whitehaven coach, has named the following 17, the same side that won away at Keighley last weekend. Neil Thorman at fullback, Craig Calvert, Scott McAvoy, Jesse Joe Parker and Chris Fleming are the three quarters. With Jamie Rooney and Kane Sutherland, the half-back combination. Up front, we've got Paul Jackson, James Newton and Paul Culneen. Second row forwards, Martin Wilson and Rhys Clark. Lee Patterson is at lock. The subs, Carl Seiss, Dave Houghton, Seb Martins and James Cameron. Paul Rowley, one win and one defeat to the Leigh Centurions name, has selected Greg McNally at full-back, Steve Maiden, Stuart Littler, the veteran, Matt Gardner and John Pownall, the three quarters, Martin Ridyard and Bob Bezic, the half-back combination, and up front, Michael Ostick, Sean Penkovic and Rob Parker, Simon Finnegan, Tommy Goulden and Martin Aspinwall, the back three, with Ryan Briley, Sam Hopkins, Jimmy Taylor and Tom Spencer, the four on the bench. After all the problems we've had with both on-field conditions and off-field conditions with the lighting, referee Matt Thomason gets play underway. That's a deep kick for the Leigh Centurions into that Whitehaven half of the field, and Whitehaven playing right to left as we look at them. In the commentary box with me, both Brian Noble and Andrew Henderson. First of all, Nobby, as things get underway, Whitehaven, 2 wins from 2. What are they going to do to maintain that 100% record tonight? Well, they're going to have to look after the ball. It's going to be interesting to see who this slight delay has affected the most. The Travellers, they already had a bit of disruption with a breakdown on the A66. Or will the home team be as focused as they look to be in training? I was having a quick browse across their ranks and they were looking very, very determined. But Leigh are in a position to affect that determination with some vigour themselves. Lee Patterson then with the drive for the Whitehaven side. Last tackle of the set. Kicks coming in from Jamie Rooney, which splits those pair of men at the back. It's going to be Steve Maiden who collects right on his own goal line. And good first set of 6, Andy.
Yeah, it's exactly where you want them, you know. Conservative set there from Whitehaven, just willing to go forward doing the hard yards. And again, the kicking game is going to be really important this evening, you know. It's been a wet field. The ball's going to hold up a little bit, especially in this deep left-hand corner there. But again, we saw the prowess of Jamie Rooney dissecting both the winger and fullback and getting it where he wanted to, just a metre off the line.
Here come Leigh then down this right-hand side with Tommy Goulden. Plenty of experience now, the 31-year-old, as play back in field. Sean Penkovic, of course, slotting in as you'd expect at dummy half, and he's just straining up play down the middle. The kick comes in, and both these sides keen to get those kicks away in the early stages, gathered by Neil Thorman. Third spell for Neil Thorman under coach Dave Woods. And Whitehaven then midway inside their own half as Thorman plays the ball. Craig Calvert.
Well, both yourself and Hendo have mentioned already, Jonathan, the fact that the kicking game is going to be crucial. And we saw 2 little caveats there. Martin Ridyard's attempt and Jamie Rooney's first attempt was brilliant. You have to know intimately what the ball's going to do on this field. Do you kick to the air? Do you chance your arm? Do you have a punt layer that can play? But that's the first 2 salvos across the bows from both teams, and I'd say round 1 to Jamie Rooney.
Yeah, Jamie Rooney with just a little suggestion of a half break in midfield a moment or so ago, and Martin Wilson it is now. Big second row forward for Whitehaven, takes his team just inside Leigh territory. Last tackle of the set. Kick is once again reeled off by Jamie Rooney. Steve Maiden chooses footwork to bring that one to rest. It's a good chase as well from the Whitehaven side.
Yeah, strong chase there, and again, not too sure about the high kick, but again, Maiden want nothing to do with it. He was willing to let it bounce.
Why wouldn't you catch it, Hendo? Catch the ball. Why wouldn't you catch it?
Why wouldn't you catch it? Exactly. You catch it, you make yourself another 10 metres, don't you, Brian? You know, but he elects to obviously not go anywhere near it. Obviously, didn't want to concede an early error early on.
A couple of big hits there from Paul Jackson, very experienced, of course. Prop forward for Whitehaven, former Castleford man. Leigh still working to get out from their own half of the field. Sean Penkovic spins out a long, hopeful ball, picked up in the end by Steve Maiden down this near side. And this is a pretty difficult part of the field. You'll see perhaps the players splashing around on this near side touchline. Good effort from Maiden. He's made a good 10-15 metres there, and Penkovic in an acting halfback once again. This time the kick comes in from Bezic. It's high, it's hanging, but it's well taken over on the far side by Whitehaven. inside the first 4 minutes of the game, scoreless here at the recreation ground. And if you're just joining us on Premier Sports, kick-off delayed until shortly after 8:15, after problems with both the floodlights here at the ground and also travel issues for the Leigh Centurions, who didn't arrive here until just before 7 o'clock. Originally, of course, we were scheduled to kick off at 7:30. It's a sloppy-looking pass right along the back there, and it's well picked up in the end by Reece Clark under some pressure, but not the sort of thing Dave Woods is going to be looking for, Brown.
Probably not, but they were looking for an opportunity. They did have an awful lot. That's a compliment, the Leigh line speed. You know, they're looking really energised defensively. They're getting forward, and Jamie Rooney's the type of player that will try and find a pass over the top, but poorly executed previously. So again, Leigh looking the most vigorous of the two teams.
McNally good effort from Greg McNally, who's broken the line there. He's got support on the outside, and it looks like the first try of the evening going to the Leigh Centurions. And it's Chris Fleming, I think, on the far side, who's got across for the try. Just waiting for confirmation.
I think it's Martin Ridyard.
Yeah, I think it's Ridyard, yeah.
And it's in fact Martin Ridyard who's got across. Great break it was down centre field from Neil Thorman to initiate the move. Good support to his left-hand side, and that was Chris Fleming. And it was Martin Ridyard who in the end took that final pass to skip his way across the line.
Well, it's great support play. They absolutely followed through in numbers on the great break from McNally, didn't they? He was straight through, and he was half caught a couple of times and lifted his feet out of the tackle, got up the middle. He's been doing that a while now, Greg McNally, and Ridyard managed to pick up the pieces at the end and get himself in essence he did catch the thing, but it was an easy try in the end.
Oh, and again, McNally, he shows good footwork, good strength, and a good turn of pace. And you know, we know he's got that ability to do that, as Martin Ridyard now looks to add the extras, which he does. But again, you know, it came from probably a poor get-out set there from Whitehaven. They lost a little bit of momentum. They had first 3 carries with dummy half scoots. You know, then they lost the sort of momentum there. And obviously a poor kick from Rooney, fielded excellently by McNally, and it was a fantastic kick return to splice the defensive line on the kick chase. And great support play from the winger, Johnny Powno, and also Martin Ridyard too, to back up on the inside. Yeah, fantastic, nice finish try there from Leigh.
That was the key, getting people through in numbers. But you're right, I think Whitehaven lost their nerve a little bit. That's not to say they're nerveless, but you just got to have some patience when the conditions are tough and you've got good line speed coming up. Hold your nerve, stay tough.
Oh, no, off stick.
Leigh Centurions 6 then, and a real howler there in the Centurions ranks. Look, it was Michael Ostick who went without the football. It was indeed.
Clean bowled, wasn't he?
Well.
His chest. Absolutely clean bowled. Went straight through his hands and knocked all 3 over.
Coach killer, that one, Brian.
Oh.
It's a great chance for Whitehaven to build here then. Trailing by 6 points to 0 in the early moments. Here's Jamie Rooney. Now it's with Jesse Joe Parker. Tries to step off the right foot, but Centurions muscle up in defence. They're going to go down the short side here. Scott McAvoy, new addition to the Whitehaven ranks for 2013. Here's Kane Sutherwood. Martin Wilson takes play to within 10 metres then of this Leigh Centurions line. First real opportunity to build some pressure here for Whitehaven. Here's Sutherwood once again, brings on the runners. Lee Patterson's one of them. Down this near side, this was the problem area earlier in the day. It's going to be real difficult to keep hold of the ball in these greasy conditions, but also you'd have thought keeping your feet in defence, it's going to be pretty tough as well. Whitehaven driving then towards that Centurions line. Rooney's kick comes in. It's juggled with on that far side. It's going to be a knock-on, says referee Matt Thomason.
Good call from the referee. Got his fingers to that one and couldn't quite clutch it in, but it was a nice little deft kick from Rooney and gets his timing right there. It's
Centurions are away again now.
Yeah, super break down the left-hand side. It was Craig Calvert who made the break. Beautiful play down that far side.
Oh,
Ridyard trying to get towards the line.
Great cover tackle.
And great tap tackle it was to stop him 5 metres short of the line. Here they go down the short side once more. The ball's come loose. Maybe a little bit of panic in that Centurions.
How they got away with that? That was a try every day of the week. They broke out, they set the trap here, stuck him on the short side by surprise, released him, off he goes, down the sideline. Ridyard's on the spot again, backs up again, every day of the week this has to be a try. Does really well, Johnny Powell. Boom! Just get got on the end by Chris Fleming, and
great play.
Just lost the play at the end there, Leigh. For every day of the week, it should have been a score, but wow.
Fantastic interplay though, wasn't it, from Ridgeyard to Pownell?
Yeah.
Interchange and the interplay there was fantastic, but the cover tackle from Thorman just got the ankle tap, and then Fleming gets back there to cover it up. And the good positive thing from Whitehaven was they had numbers back there. They got numbers back on side.
Yeah, they were all back. But you'd be worried if you're the Whitehaven coach, because they've been caught now by a couple of structural breaks, which really frustrates a coach, because they had numbers there. They just made a poor decision.
First penalty again, and goes the way of the home side. Into the 10th minute, they're trailing by that early Martin Ridgeyard try. And Ridgeyard it was, with that lovely break down the left-hand side. Should have been a second for the Centurions, but at the moment they're more concerned about getting the defence in order. Here are Whitehaven then, down centre field.
Good carry.
James Newton now from acting half-back. Here's Patterson. Support is to his left with Jesse Joe Parker. Now it's with Calvert down the left-hand side. Calvert steps off the right foot, then back again off that left foot. Good feet. Again, running into that problem underfoot area. Chances here for Whitehaven.
He's been a good player at this level for a long time, Calvert. Scored some tries.
Again, Southernwood with the ball. It was Jamie Rooney who couldn't quite keep his feet centre field. Now Culneen. Last tackle of this set of 6. 20 metres to make it to that Leigh Centurions line. The crossfield bomb comes in from Jamie Rooney. Well fielded at the back though by Steve Maiden. And danger averted, and Maiden here with a chance to make a break from his own 20-metre area, and a great good return carry.
They're just a great carry out their own half. They're just making so many inroads. They look a little bit quicker, they look a little bit sharper, a little bit more energised than the team in white at the moment, who've been given, at another juggle, have been given a leg up with a penalty. And a drop ball from Maiden initially, from Ostick, beg your pardon, initially. So Leigh are giving them every opportunity, Whitehaven, to get into this game. But I have to say the travelling team are looking the more vigorous at the moment.
Rob Parker with that carry. Here's Bezic. Brings on the runners down at centre field. It was Martin Aspinwall. Kick comes in on this last tackle of the set. It's a tricky one, but well fielded at the back, and a risky ball. Very risky ball on your own 20, especially when already trailing here. Whitehaven have managed to get away with that. It's Craig Calvert coming in off the wing to relieve his forwards of a little bit of work.
I think it was a wing combo, wasn't it? It was Fleming eventually finished it off, and Calvert with the catch, trying to get some combinations going in the Whitehaven backfield and be as impressive as the Leigh backfield's been at the moment. Ooh.
Whitehaven then towards halfway with Jackson. Good legs pumping away, the Scottish international. Little dash from acting halfback is from James Newton, who steals a few cheeky yards. Last tackle of this set. Game certainly going quick from end to end here, and a lovely catch again at the back by Steve Maiden.
Well, Southernwood's chased his own kick real well there, because he's been getting a running jump, hasn't he, Maiden? And Southernwood ensured that he didn't get that, so they're in the business trying to restrict territory now, Whitehaven.
They've put the ball to the skies, Andy, on 1 or 2 occasions already. Are they getting this kick pressure right?
Yeah, well, the kick pressure's been pretty good the last 2 plays. You know, there was pressure on Rooney before, and he didn't come up with a very good kick, and there was pressure there on Ridgeyard, and again, it does make it hard to get the kickers get the kick away, but the good thing is it's got to be complemented with a good chase, and we saw Southern where he put the high one up, got a good chase and pinned him in the corner where he wanted him.
Craig Calvert fields the latest in a succession of downtown kicks then. And 3 Leigh defenders then, 25 metres from that Whitehaven line, bring him to ground. Jesse Joe Parker with plenty of ground to make if he's going to be touching the ball down under the black dot at the far end of the field. A lot of work to do here for Whitehaven at the moment. Penalty goes their way, which is going to help them. because, as you mentioned earlier, Brian, just maybe looking a little bit out enthused and maybe just overawed in the opening first 10-15 minutes or so.
Well, I just think that Leigh are giving them every leg up to get into this game. That's 2 penalties now, and obviously the drop ball from Ossick has given Whitehaven, because when they've got it right, Leigh, they've looked a stronger, the more physical team, dangerous in the back. This is another great opportunity now for Whitehaven to stamp some authority on this game. Stay at this end of the field. I think their kicks have lacked any penetration. That means going to the air with a lack of competition for the ball hasn't produced any dividends. I'd be looking at the ground with this soggy ground and see if they can cause the ball to stop or roll towards the in goal.
Leigh Patterson then, what can Dave Woods' team produce here? Chiming in from full-back is Neil Thorman. It's a tricky enough pass for Jesse Joe Parker to pick up there, but he did well off the bootlaces. 20 metres from the Leigh line down the short side, but it's a poor ball there from Kane Southernwood, straight into touch near side. You don't need to give away possession of the football in circumstances like that.
Disappointing end of the set there for Whitehaven. Again, they've been gifted the field position from the Centurions, and again they failed to capitalise on that field position. And
I've been really looking forward to watching this young bloke Southernwood play.
Former Bradford kid, wasn't he?
Yeah, Bradford kid. Big raps when he signed about what he was going to be, and I think he can learn his rugby up here, and I think he can develop probably into the player that most people thought he might be. I think it's a good move for him, and whilst that pass went a little bit astray, you know, I think it was the right option. He needs to be looking.
So Whitehaven 0, Leigh 6. Testing times for Whitehaven. Leigh could be a little bit smarter, as both the guys have alluded to so far, and they're in possession midway inside their own half of the field. Then Penkovic in at acting halfback. Martin Ospinwall takes play some 30 metres from his own line. Play the ball, not exactly lightning fast, and it's another error that Leigh and Paul Rowley certainly will not be happy with. Whitehaven then put back into bat here, 30 metres from the Centurions line. It's Leigh Patterson gets away the offload down that right-hand side to Wilson.
You need to help me out here, Hendo. I'm just thinking as a coach, as an old fossily coach, that perhaps we should stay here a little longer than they have been doing, you know, the execution of their skills, and find some pressure maybe for 1 or 2 sets to test out this Leigh defence.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. You know, at the end of the day, they haven't really sustained any pressure, and I don't think they're asking many questions either. The line, the pass is a little slow. It's probably played a little bit out the back a bit early, making it easier to defend.
Here's Craig Calvert with a chance down the right-hand side from that Lee Clark ball, back inside to Reece Clark, I should say. He was on the diagonal towards the posts. Home support don't like that challenge, but referee says play on his. Southernwood with the little grub kick through, well read at the back though it was by Greg McNally, and that spares the Centurions blushes.
Yeah, right kick. Not the best chase, he kicked a little bit kick for himself. McNally, you have to say, is in great position to field this one. Comes from behind the sticks, he's probably hiding behind the sticks, that's why I didn't see him. And he made probably 10-15 metres that he shouldn't have made if it had been organised.
Here come the Centurions then. Sean Penkovic brings on the runners down centre field. And a little dash then for acting halfback, but again the short ball in the direction of Tommy Goulden is spilled, and once more Whitehaven pick up football in a promising position with Martin Wilson, who shrugs off one man, takes that 2-man tackle.
That was a tough catch for, I think it was Goulden that was at the line. Penkovic sees so many things, he's such a good player. He's seen the moles around the ruck. Goulden slightly off the pace. Whitehaven, in all fairness, have closed the door and closed the catch as well.
Here's Reece Clark then for Whitehaven down this left-hand side. Newton, Southernwood to Rooney, who looks to show and go. Can't find a way through. Scott McAvoy down that far right-hand side now. Now Whitehaven down centre field once again. Southernwood involved in everything that's been good about them so far. Here's Rooney, short ball, looked a little bit suspect from this angle to the pass, but matters not anyway. The ball's gone to ground, and another mistake from Whitehaven, who just can't seem to... They're getting opportunities all the time from Leigh, but they're just not managing to turn the screw and build any significant and lasting pressure.
I agree, and I was about to say to Brian, you know, I think they've certainly won the field position and possession battle, but they're just lacking any real penetration. You know what I mean? There just doesn't seem to be any sort of strike. It's kind of a little bit pedestrian for me, you know, and obviously some of the kick options haven't been complemented with a good kick chase, and they just seem, I say, a little bit pedestrian in their play.
Yeah, I'll help you out here. The danger with this is if Leigh start managing to hold on to the ball and do the things they're supposed to be doing.
Well, they've looked sharper, haven't they?
They'll counter punch and they'll be on the wrong end of another score here, so they've got to capitalise on this field position of Whitehaven.
Yeah, big opportunities for Whitehaven, who, of course, come into the game on the back of those 2 successes here against York. And at the weekend down at Keighley, hard-fought 16-12 success. Leigh, well, of course, they were thrashed, soundly thrashed by Featherstone Rovers first up before a 40-0 success against Hunslet last weekend. Went some way to rectifying that effort, and they're in possession now towards the halfway line then. A little attempt at a show and go from Martin Ridyard, leading point scorer in the competition. Done himself no harm in that respect tonight with a try and conversion already. Kick has come in and proved a little bit awkward there at the back for Neil Thorman. We see Whitehaven in a position they've not been in too often, despite the fact that they're trailing on the scoreboard. Yeah, plenty of jeers from the home support here, who I think are indicating that the referee might be taking them back a bigger 10. Centre field with Jackson. A little ball from James Newton. Whitehaven then just trying to put in some hard yards towards halfway. Southernwood now to Lee Patterson. It's Newton at acting half-back, the kicks come in. It's easy enough, you think, for Steve Maiden to field, and just takes the precaution of using the boot.
Looks dangerous every time he carries the ball, doesn't he?
Strong ball carrier, Maiden. He's a strong ball carrier. Not the quickest, but carries the ball strong.
Is he quicker than you?
Just a little bit.
Surely not quicker than you, Brown.
Definitely not.
I don't know. Wasn't that quick getting up the gantry, was he? Sort of that pitch.
Here we go with the Leigh Centurions then. Sean Penkovic goes in and acting half-back and once again sprays that ball away to Bob Bezic on his left-hand side. Chances here with Ridyard trying to put his man through the gap, but they've used 5 of this set, 30 metres out, centre field. A little chip kick's going to come in from Penkovic over to that far side, and well, in the end, good. It was well read by Chris Fleming, but they've come up with the error on that far side, Whitehaven.
Yeah, you think he's collected, then he's tried to get up and carry on. They've took him in a touch here. Probably should have just stayed in the ground, really, there, didn't it? He shouldn't have tried to get up and carry on, you know. It gave an opportunity for Leigh. But again, Penkovic, he looks lively when he gets out, doesn't he? And again, him getting out there, you see the defensive line stops. He holds the defensive line, places the kick with acute deftness there into the corner. Fleming done well to get back there and recover it, but probably made the wrong decision by trying to get back up.
So opportunity now for chance to mount some pressure for some time here down this near side, and it's a chance into the line here from Greg McNally, and Greg McNally has got across for the try in the right-hand corner. Well, dearie me, the mistake came on that far side from the Whitehaven winger Chris Fleming, who's taken into touch, and straight off the back of that scrum play, it's McNally, the 22-year-old, who's got himself in towards this right-hand corner and increased that Centurions lead to 10 points to 0.
Well, it's Ridyard. Dummy play. He's just got too much toes, McNally. He leaves Southernwood for dead. He gives himself too much to do, gives him his outside shoulder. And do you know what? He takes it. He's too quick, this kid. You can't leave Greg McNally alone. He'll take every opportunity he's possibly got. And he saw the whitewash, and he wasn't going to be stopped.
Again, you see Greg McNally time and time again. He does that a lot. You know, he's got good turn of pace, good acceleration. And he timed his run well out the back. It was a nice line. He held his line well. He took it. And then he just skips out late on that outline, that overs line, gets on the outside of Southernwood. I don't know whether Southernwood possibly stopped a little bit there too and just sort of hesitated and checked a little bit. Well, I gave him the opportunity to get on the outside. Maybe he was a little bit tight defensively as well.
He was, you're right, Henry. Too close to his next number and gave himself too much to do. And I put me see a short kid like him on the outside, and he's too hard. He would have got there eventually, but he ran out of space.
Yeah, did get the spacing right.
So Martin Ridyard with his conversion attempt, which is just going to fade past the right-hand upright. So 10-0 it remains in favour of the visitors here. Leigh Centurions second in this Kingston Press Championship table for the last couple of seasons. They've certainly been challengers for the title on both those occasions. And, well, both of you said before kick-off tonight that this would be the first real stern test of the campaign for the Whitehaven side. And it's proving to be that way.
Yeah, well, we're just seeing that the quality of Leigh at this present time is the deciding factor, because you know what, they've only had 3 opportunities, have they, in that half of the field, and they've executed 2 of them. And Whitehaven it's proved difficult for them to create an opportunity. So, but it's far from over. You know, Whitehaven every chance in this game still. You know, they've got to get a grip of these people. Every time Leigh win the ground, i.e. they get a quick play of the ball, you can bet your bottom dollar that Penkovic will exploit it.
Yeah, the Centurions just giving the impression from that restart that they've stepped it up half a notch here. And they're going to be putting some serious pressure on Whitehaven during the next few minutes or so. What, 15 minutes, 16 minutes to go just before the break here. Kicks come in from Bob Bezic.
There's good pressure on Bezic there. It disrupted his kick and gave Whitehaven probably another 15 metres on the recovery.
Whitehaven are doing it tough midway inside their own half of the field with Thorman. Here's Jesse Joe Parker, former Featherstone man, of course, trying to step his way through. The jeers from the home support again there. As Dave Houghton has been getting some serious raps from his coach Dave Woods for his performances off the bench in the competition so far. Out there on the field now for Whitehaven. See if that can just add a little bit of impetus for them up front. Bit of go forward.
It's just passive offence at the moment. I don't mean they're trying to be passive. I just mean because they can't get any ruck speed and can't get any momentum forward, any play that goes to the fringe is going to be nullified by Leigh's defence. There's just no opportunity. And then there's pressure, but there's a penalty here for someone knocked off the ball. I think Sutherland's been cracked.
Yeah, I think double knock on. In fact, he's given the penalty the way of the home side here.
I think Penkovic is
took out Sutherland or something.
Sutherland maybe when he'd passed the ball. So another opportunity. Oh, Whitehaven's opportunities have come
well,
from
they've had
Leigh.
plenty of field position and possession, Brian. It's just what they do with it. And you know, they need to have a little bit more strike, a little bit more punch in what they're doing with their lines of run and things like that. I just think maybe they're playing a little bit early at times, playing out the back a bit deep. It just makes it easy for the Leigh defensive line to push through and defend it.
Here's Houghton then for Whitehaven, who get another penalty. I make it their 4th of the 4 that have been given in the game so far.
Slipped above his head. They slapped him on the chin, I think. Yeah. Let's have a look. Good footwork. Yeah. Yeah.
Martin Aspinwall, the man at fault. And Whitehaven haven't hung around to debate it. They've restarted play. Here's Jamie Rooney to Southernwood, who's looking for a long ball out down this near side to Jesse Joe Parker and tries to show and go. But first penalty of the game to Leigh this time. Obstruction against the little Whitehaven halfback.
It's interesting to see where the Leigh defence got to here, because he's definitely in front of the ball. He's made a punt to, well, you know what? I would have looked at that. I would have had a look at that. I think it's a poor read.
He's gone around.
Maybe not.
No,
he's gone around him.
It's crossing.
Yeah, it's crossing.
He needed to square
himself
up Southernwood there.
Yeah.
He was going too lateral. He had to square up. He may have given himself an opportunity to fix someone there, but he didn't.
But again, now what have Whitehaven got in defence? They've been down the other end of the field. They've been trying to put some pressure on the opposition. They've succumbed quickly on a couple of occasions before. And here are Leigh in possession of the football once again, this time with Sam Hopkins. And that's not going to help their cause.
We can dress it as we want. They're playing too quickly for the Whitehaven defence of Leigh.
Yeah.
They're just ruling the ruck and playing the ball too quickly, and that makes it really, really hard to get back and set your defensive line.
It's Martin Aspinwall then with that drive towards the post. Penkovic has support to his left with young Sam Hopkins. So young, he'll be 23 on Sunday. Got another birthday that we're celebrating on Premier Sports tonight, haven't we, Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
Many happy returns as Leigh Centurions have possession of the football down this near side the right with Stuart Littler. This time we've really seen him with ball in hand. They're going for the corner here. It's Penkovic who spins and turns, and Sean Penkovic has got himself across the line. We said, what did Whitehaven have to offer in defence? Under some pressure, having seen the ball down at the other end of the field, And Penkovic comes up with the answers for the Leigh Centurions, who increased that lead to 14 points to 0.
And again, that came from what Brian pointed out before, the ruck speed, the tempo of the game that Leigh are playing. You know, they've been far more dominant when they're carrying the football, punching good lines, finding their fronts. And like you say, this sort of last 5 to 10 minutes have really started to get that roll on. And that's all it was there, you know. Isolation there, play from Stuart Little. He gets a one-on-one, bit of a legs passive tackle, gets up quickly, plays the ball. Penkovic sees it they're scrambling the defensive line on the short side, gets out, good vision, and it's a simple handoff spin and places the ball neatly in the corner there. But again, it just came from the plays building up earlier. They'll get that ruck speed, they'll make it easy meters, quick play of the balls, bringing people onto the football, and as a result, they shifted it wide to the right. Littler runs a nice line, gets that isolation one-on-one, legs tackle, quick play of the ball, and away goes Penke. He sees that they hadn't readjusted. They tied the half back in. They only had the winger short side. 2v1 scenario there. Calvert had to make a decision to try and do something. He stands his ground. Try.
And from a coaching perspective, Brian, you've got to be tearing your hair out at this stage as Martin Ridyard's conversion attempt
It's good.
Increases that Leigh lead to 16 points to 0. It's not like your team have been under the cosh, have been subjected to barrage after barrage of attack inside their own 20. They've spent a lot of the game in the opposition's half of the field and come off at the back with 3 tries against them.
And people like Penkovic, as we saw there, he's not going to miss it. Jesse Joe Parker on the floor, he's seen that, and that's why he pushed Littler out of the way at dummy arm and said, I'm going to score a try here. That was a simple play. But you're right. You know, if Dave Woods could blow the half-time whistle now 10 minutes earlier, he would, because they've got to fix up the middle. It's the middle part of the field that's causing them a problem. Ruck speed for Leigh is too quick.
So Leigh back with the football then. And that 10 minutes to half-time might seem like a long way off for Whitehaven at the moment. A lot of work to do in defence as Martin Aspinwall, Sam Hopkins with the previous drive, and now they're making their way towards that halfway line. Penkovic brings on Aspinwall once again. Plenty of Super League experience, of course, with the likes of Huddersfield and most recently Hull FC for Aspinwall. And he's received a penalty here, so having seen the first 4 go the way of the home side, the last 3 have all gone with the Centurions, a momentum shift.
Well, all I can say is that he's picked out Hopkins is in. He's just hanging around too long on the speed of the play of the ball. The message may have gone out from Dave Woods, you've got to slow these blokes down, but you've got to do it legitimately. And the referee adjudicated that was a penalty.
Tom Spencer then, big number 34 for the Leigh Centurions. Penkovic has support from James Taylor. Only 10-12 metres for the Centurions to make here. What have they got to offer this time around on attack? Here Spencer bounces off one would-be tackler before 3 men halt him a couple of metres short of the line. Centurions go down the left-hand side this time. Powerful drive was from Hopkins once again. Quick play the ball. Chances for number 20, James Taylor there, but the ball's gone to ground once again. This time Leigh perhaps guilty of too many cooks in there underneath the post. Maybe a little bit more composure might have paid dividends.
I think they're just trying every bit they've got in their arsenal here. Penkovic is a choice of 3 or 4 runners, and he just got confused. I think he was jumped in on late by no,
Reece Clark got himself between the ball and the
he
man,
got himself between, but I think it was I'll get it for you in a second. I just got a block on his name.
Tommy Goulden?
Nah, not Tommy Goulden.
Well, I'm sure we'll forgive Brian. He's
Taylor.
29 again today, and maybe the mince pie is not working
James Taylor?
as well they might. Penalty
Anyway,
going the way.
It's gone. Back on with the game. It's gone.
Once again, a 5th eye making of the game.
Well, it's the only way Whitehaven are getting out of their own half, isn't it, with success?
Yeah.
A couple of errors and 4 penalties now.
Jesse Joe Parker then with the tap. Advances towards that Centurions line, who try and immediately drag him touchwood on this near side. Carl Seiss out there on the field. The substitute dummy half runner for Whitehaven. Once again involved here as big Seb Martins driving towards that Centurions post. Still 30 metres to make here for Whitehaven. Seiss once again. Now it's with Southernwood, who had Jamie Rooney on the run around out the back there, but had to take the tackle before he could get the ball away. Here is Rooney this time. Is he going to go boot? He's not. He's going to find a man on the outside, but the ball has gone to ground once again, and once more frustration.
Well, they're just killing themselves at the moment, aren't they, Whitehaven? They've had a fair bit of field position, and I have to say in that side, I thought they looked a little bit more incisive. They looked a little bit more vigorous, a little bit more go forward. They're looking vigorous in defence. I think, you know, they need to stand up to Leigh. They need to roll their sleeves up and get forward as much as they possibly can this defensive set, so they can retrieve the ball in decent field position this time around.
But sometimes you see teams do that when they're struggling to sort of offer much. They start to then try and force it, as we saw there with Patterson. He just tried to flick that one out the back door, and it wasn't really on. You're trying to make something happen rather than being patient and building on it.
Here's Ridyard then for the Leigh Centurions. Last tackle of this set. Pankovic has to scurry and get the ball away to a teammate in Greg McMalley, who perhaps he wasn't thinking of.
Great catch
at the back from Neil Thorman.
That was second slip.
What a catch! Nice, Thorman.
Here's Jesse Joe Parker.
Did well there, Neil Thorman. He did really well.
Good defences from Leigh, though.
Oh, see there. Yep, maybe more of a gully catch than a slip catch. He got both hands out there, and that was what he had to do. Otherwise, there were 3 Leigh players in the backfield, and they were gone again, weren't they?
Brian Noble fancied himself as a test cricketer at one stage, you know.
Yeah.
Could have been at Headingley rather than Odsall.
Controversial.
Donning a different type of stud.
Yeah.
Here are Whitehaven then in possession. And the kick has come in from Carl Seiss. It's up nicely out on that far side then by John Pownell.
Wait, play the ball.
Now Leigh, what have they got to offer here? 3 tries so far, a couple of Martin Ridyard goals, and just get the impression they might be playing within themselves to a little extent and then taking their opportunities when they get down the business end of the field. They're in possession just inside their own half at the moment. Pankovic, who brings on
Spencer.
James Taylor.
Was it Taylor?
Took a bit of stopping as well, James Taylor, the big number 20.
He looks good
This
with
time
the
it's
crash
with
out,
Tommy Gilden. Gilden will play the ball to Pankovic. Here's Aspinwall with the kick through. Bezic, in fact, it was with the kick through, and picked up at the back.
Great kick.
By Neil Thorman.
Nice
Gets the
pass
ball
from Neil
away.
Thorman. Some people might call that risky, but I thought it was a high percentage play that. Got Fleming away into the backfield. Give him an extra 10 metres there. Didn't panic. Good play.
Inside the final 5 minutes of the first half then, with Premier Sports at this Kingston Press Championship Round 3 match. The recreation ground Whitehaven, who trail the home side by 16 points to 0 against last year's runners-up in the regular league rounds, the Leigh Centurions. Paul Rowley and his team having travel problems getting here in the first place. And they've overcome both that and floodlight issues here. The late kick-off to lead this game in taking their chances. There's Jesse Joe Parker for the home side, though. Down the near side, it's with Craig Calvert. Calvert's got support back on the inside from Sutherland. Tries to get the kick away. And that's ricocheted to touchdown this near side.
I think they'll get the head and feet here, Whitehaven. No. Well, even if it's a charge down, it should be Whitehaven's head and feet. What's he saying?
Nice.
He hasn't played at it?
He hasn't played at it. Well, that's what I think he's saying. I don't think he did play at it, really. I mean, he kicked it right at the last second, didn't he, really? I mean, he was never going to have a chance of getting out of the way, or... What do you think? Do you think he played it there?
Well, I'd like to look at it again.
Oh, he's given it now.
Yeah.
He's got the video ref. He's given it to him. Yeah, now you do, I don't know. I just think, don't get me wrong, your natural reaction, mate, a bloke's literally that close to you.
Yeah.
The natural action is to probably put your arms up to protect your face.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gone to play the football there. I think the ball's played the man personally. I think Calvert kicked too late. Anyway, Whitehaven are on the attack.
Yeah, Whitehaven head and feet. Oh, what's he doing?
Yeah, ball to ground again, far side, and chances for the Centurions. Support was on the inside with John Pownell. It was Matt Gardner who was making the break down that far side of the field. Just a little bit sloppy, allows that Whitehaven defence to make an extra yard or two.
Again, Whitehaven not patient in their attack, forcing it, trying to force it to happen.
Centurions then down this near side, the right. through Aspinwall. Penkovic has support to his right-hand side from Bezic. Oh, lovely little ball. In the end, it wasn't.
Unlucky.
Actually, it looked like it was a lovely little slip pass originally.
He did everything right, but the execution, didn't he?
Yeah.
He drew the man, went under his footwork that meant he drew another person in to try and release McNally. Here we see great ball skill, got Southernwood interested and just couldn't quite find the play. He did all the clever stuff, he did all the U-Butte stuff. He just didn't execute the pass at the end.
I agree with that. Possibly McNally may have just slightly overrun him as well. But you know, you're right there, no. He did ever so well to create the opportunity.
And at 16-0, I guess, that's a sigh of relief for Whitehaven coach Dave Woods. Another try then could have been shut the gate time. He'll be clinging on to some hope that things can turn around second half.
Yeah, but what happens is you get impatient as a player. You know, his play won from a scrum on the 60 metres, and you don't need to force the football at that stage. There'll be times in the game when you need to force the football, and everybody knows you're forcing the football. The trouble is, with your own agenda and you force the football, your teammates don't know it, so there's not as many people there as they should be.
Inside the final 3 minutes then of this first half. In fact, inside the final 2 minutes, my maths is correct, and it's Whitehaven in possession with Kane Southernwood, who's certainly been at the hub of everything that's been good about that team in this first half. Carl Seiss has added some impetus to the side as well since his introduction, and he's in there again acting half-back following the tackle of Rooney.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, John. I think Seiss has done well since he's been on the field. They look a bit more incisive in and around the ruck at least.
Rooney once again, long ball to Jesse Joe Parker down this near side, and the half tackle is back off his feet. Jesse Joe Parker gets the ball away, and a try in the left-hand corner. And the try goes the way of Craig Calvert for the home side, and that will certainly cheer the home support. Whitehaven have had their opportunities in the game so far, but not really managed to hammer home any of that pressure. Leigh have done so at the other end of the field, but this time it's the home side who are going to go into half-time with something to work with.
Well, Rooney's been looking at this left side and Jesse Joe Parker all night. Wasn't tackled, got up, played on. Great link play. I'll tell this boy Calvert scores tries for fun. But that's down to Rooney. He's seen an opportunity left. He's been trying to release Jesse Joe all night. And it's the fall-over slip ball when he falls over that gets him in the clear. Great money ball in the end there.
Great finish from the Carcass in the corner as well. But again, fantastic try from Whitehaven. Great skill from Rooney. That quality, that width pass there to put the out ball to Jesse Joe Parker. Now, Stuart Little has done a great job on Joe Parker this evening defensively, but on that occasion, he lets Jesse Joe get on the outside of him, and it gives him the opportunity. He can't complete the tackle. Nice pass inside to Reece Clark, and Reece Clark has a bit of work to do.
Oh,
he gets himself through in between the two defenders. Nice around the corner offload there to Calvert to finish in the corner. You know, good try, well worked. Last play option, fantastic.
He'd plenty to do with Reece Clark there.
Done well, good
plenty
try.
to do.
Good try. Leigh will be disappointed with that on half-time.
But the very left-sided Whitehaven would be my last comment. You know, Rooney's looking to release Jesse Joe.
Yeah, Jamie Rooney came into the game as the leading goal kicker in the competition so far, although he's been passed by Leigh's Martin Ridyard, but we'll level that again if he's successful here. And he is successful here, off the crossbar. That little bit of luck going the way of the home side, and Jamie Rooney makes it Whitehaven 6, Leigh Centurions 16, and the half-time hooter goes. Players making their way off the field. Andy, it's been a half of opportunities for Whitehaven. How are they going to turn this one around in the second half?
Yeah, look, you know, they've had the field position, they've had the possession, you know what I mean, but they need to be more effective when they've had that. Leigh, for me, have probably played the conditions a little bit better. Now, they've given away a little bit of, you know, field position away with their penalties and mistakes. But like you said, they've probably had the better of the half lead. They deserve to be in the lead where they are.
Well, great start to the game here then at the recreation ground on Premier Sports. The half-time score, Whitehaven 6, Leigh Centurions 16.